Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed on March 25, 2026, that it had struck a U.S. military aircraft, saying the target was a U.S. F-18 fighter jet that crashed into waters near the Indian Ocean after being hit by what Tehran described as a new advanced air defense network over the Chabahar region in southeastern Iran. The Iraqi released footage purportedly showing the engagement and pointed to the jet's loss of control before it descended toward the sea. But there is currently no independent confirmation of the incident, and U.S. military authorities have publicly rejected the claim. The United States Central Command called Iran's description false, stating that no allied F-18 aircraft have been downed and that no losses of this nature have been confirmed. This latest assertion comes in the midst of an ongoing war between the United States and Iran that has dramatically reshaped security dynamics in the Middle East. The conflict, which erupted in late February 2026 after a series of escalatory actions, has seen strikes, counterstrikes, and a mounting toll of military losses on both sides, involving not only aerial engagements but also missile barrages and naval actions across the Gulf region. The broader context for the Raisi's announcement is an intensifying confrontation in which both Tehran and Washington are fiercely contesting strategic airspace and regional influence. Earlier in March, a U.S. F-35 stealth fighter reportedly suffered damage over Iranian airspace and was forced to make an emergency landing at a Middle East base. The pilot was reported to be in stable condition. That incident, although incomplete in its independent verification, highlighted the risk confronting advanced military aircraft operating in contested skies, while Tehran's military statements portray successful defense operations against U.S. assets. External analysts caution that the fog of war makes verification difficult, and independent sources have not corroborated claims of a downed U.S. fighter. U.S. military spokespeople have reiterated that, to their knowledge, no U.S. aircraft has been lost to Iranian fire in these engagements. Amid these tensions, the United States intensified its military deployment to the region. In late March, the Pentagon ordered approximately 2,000 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team to the Middle East, part of a broader push that includes Marine Expeditionary Units and Naval Forces. These reinforcements, which include units trained for rapid crisis response, signal a deepening U.S. commitment to countering Iranian military capabilities and securing strategic locations such as key airfields and critical infrastructure. Senior Iranian officials, meanwhile, continued to adopt defiant rhetoric. In comments reported by state media, an IRC military spokesperson taunted the United States by saying it is effectively negotiating with itself, dismissing U.S. diplomatic overtures, and framing Iran's military posture as the anchor of regional stability. Tehran's messaging underscores a refusal to accept open negotiations under current conditions and a belief that U.S. strategic objectives in the region have been challenged. Diplomatic efforts have been underway in parallel to the fighting. The United States, seeking a path toward de-escalation, reportedly transmitted a 15-point ceasefire and peace proposal to Iran through mediators, including Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey. The initiative reportedly emphasizes, among other conditions, a commitment by Iran not to pursue nuclear weapons, a central U.S. security red line, as well as a structured halt to hostilities while negotiations proceed. U.S. officials have characterized the proposal as a serious diplomatic effort aimed at ending the war. Iranian leadership, however, rejected the U.S. ceasefire plan as maximalist and unreasonable, and Tehran has put forward its own counter-proposal. Iranian officials have demanded an end to attacks on their territory, reparations for war damage, broad security guarantees, and even control over the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which a significant share of global oil shipments transits. These demands, if implemented, would constitute a major shift in regional geopolitics and challenge long-standing U.S. military presence and alliances in the Gulf. The failure of early negotiations reflects a deep mistrust between the two powers that has only been compounded by the intense combat operations and strategic losses suffered thus far. Tehran's broader narrative frames the conflict as not merely a bilateral confrontation with Washington, but a struggle for sovereignty and regional autonomy against Western military dominance. Iranian official outlets have called for alternatives to existing security structures, urging Middle Eastern states to reconsider alliances and pursue independent paths to collective security. While such rhetoric resonates with certain regional constituencies, it also risks narrowing diplomatic options and entrenching adversarial postures. The human and economic toll of the conflict continues to mount. The repeated cross-border drone and missile attacks have strained civilian infrastructure across the Gulf, disrupted shipping lanes, and contributed to volatility in global energy markets as the Strait of Hormuz remains contested. Analysts warn that prolonged hostilities could further destabilize global supply chains and exacerbate economic uncertainty worldwide. The United States has made clear that its objectives in the war, which official spokespeople describe as degrading Iran's strategic weapons capabilities, especially its missile and defense infrastructure, and preventing the development of nuclear weapons, remain unchanged, even as diplomatic. And military strategies evolve. These objectives articulated by U.S. defense leadership reflect a long-standing set of policy priorities that have driven successive administrations' approaches to Tehran. Iran's military engagement has also involved a range of proxy forces and allied militias throughout the region, complicating efforts to contain the war's geographic scope. Attacks attributed to Iran or its affiliates have been reported across multiple countries in the Middle East, encompassing not only Israel and U.S. bases, but also Gulf Arab states and maritime targets, creating an expansive theater of conflict. Despite these sweeping developments, global public opinion remains sharply divided. Protests against the war have occurred worldwide, with demonstrations both opposing and supporting various aspects of the conflict. In some cases, clashes between demonstrators and security forces have resulted in casualties, underscoring the war's polarizing impact beyond the battlefield. As the war intensifies, the possibility of direct negotiations between Washington and Tehran appears remote. Iranian officials continue to frame diplomatic overtures as secondary to military resolve, even as regional mediators press for talks. Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt have remained active in attempting to bridge differences, but Tehran has signaled that any meaningful dialogue would require substantial concessions from the United States that go well beyond traditional ceasefire terms. In the absence of an immediate diplomatic breakthrough, both sides continue to prepare militarily, adjusting force deployments and reinforcing strategic positions. The United States has reaffirmed its commitment to protecting its allies and interests in the Gulf, while Iran maintains that it will defend its sovereign territory and resist external military pressure at all costs. In this high-stakes standoff, the next developments, whether on the battlefield, in back-channel negotiations, or through shifting regional alliances, will be critical in determining whether the conflict escalates further or finds a path to de-escalation.